Hey GlamFam, Linwood here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to do a waterfall braid like this here. Now, a few things you should know before we begin. This is a variation of a French braid, so if you don't know how to French braid, I would definitely recommend checking out my video on that first. If you don't know how to braid at all, I would highly recommend starting with an overhand braiding tutorial that I have as well, so be sure to check that out also. I'll link them both in the description box down below. Just check it out. All right, I did prep this hair a bit with a curling wand, but as you can see, it's rather old. But yes, this hair has been prepped with a curling wand and a little bit of shine serum just to kind of help out with smoothness and fighting off tangles. Yes, this is a mannequin. She'll be linked down below as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this down, and then I'll show you guys exactly how to do it on this right side. I already have the left side done for you. All right, so you guys can see here, I've already done the braid on the opposite side here, but now we're going to go ahead and begin on this right side of the head. So I'm going to go ahead and begin by taking a small section. Now, for those who have not watched my videos before, just know that I'm big on doing things like a professional, because I am a professional. So I try to share tips with you to help you be able to do more professional looking work. And a lot of that comes down to taking smaller sections when you begin as well as while you're going. So I'm going to take a smaller section here, and we're going to split it into 3. Now, because typically we're going to be dropping the bottom strand, I'm going to begin with the top strand and bring it over. So what we're going to do is we'll go ahead and take that top strand, bring it over the middle. We're going to take our bottom strand and bring it on up. And then from there, you can either take your finger and slide on across, add to that top strand there, and bring it over the middle. If you don't have fingernails, I'll go ahead and show you a technique to be able to get that a bit cleaner, just so you can have nice consistent sections. Then from there, we're going to actually, instead of picking up hair and adding it to this area, we're going to pick up hair and bring this strand towards the face. Then from there, we'll cross that hair over that we picked, and we're just going to drop this strand that we would have brought over. So from there, we kind of have where we're just creating a new thin strand. So we've got 2 thin strands and 1 thick, and it's going to stay that way pretty much throughout the consistent pattern of the braid. Now, if for some reason you don't have fingernails, you can't easily clean up that parting, I would recommend using a comb while you work. So a lot of times I'll just pop it in the other side of the head like that. And when it comes time to pick up the hair from this side, I'll go ahead and take my comb, glide right on across, and pick up my section. We'll part across to the other side, and that way I can easily be able to grab my section of hair and keep it moving. Just like that. And we'll pop it back over here on the side that is finished, or if it's unfinished, usually the comb will still stay. From there, I can go ahead and smooth that hair out. This strand right here, we're going to reach under, and I like to keep this line as straight as possible as well. I just feel like it makes it look more congruent. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up that section, clean it up, and then pass it over. Come back over to the top, and notice with each of these, I'm trying to stay consistent with my section size. Having that consistency helps out with your overall braid looking neater. And trust me, when it comes down to making things look professional, if you've got a big braid or a big strand, a little strand, a big strand, 3 little strands, you know, it doesn't show consistency. It shows that you kind of lack in technique. So it's part of the reason why I do things the way I do. And if you'll notice, I always make sure I try to reach directly under the strand that's falling, just so that way that strand covers up the scalp that you would see underneath there. I hope that makes sense. So from there, we'll go ahead and pick up again, and we're going to continue this process on through the back of the head. So I'm going to skip forward just a little bit, and that way I can kind of show you a couple more tips as we get closer to the end. All right, so you guys can kind of see as I've gotten a bit further how this hair is looking. You can see it just kind of keeps a very neat look if you keep it nice and consistent. But if you'll notice, before we started, I told you guys that I prepped the hair. I had already pre-styled the hair and put some product in there, because a lot of times if that hair is knotting and I pull on one area, it can actually change the shape of your braid, or loosen up the way it wants to fall. So this isn't something that I would recommend for like highly textured hair unless it has been smoothed out, pressed out, or stretched. It does work really well for naturally straighter or wavier textures or hair that has been prepped. But even still, I would highly recommend using some form of like a silicone, a shine spray, even a little bit of oil to be able to just kind of help you gain control over that section. Let me see here. There we go. Now I try to keep a visual line going of where I want things to be, and that way as I'm braiding, it just kind of keeps the sake of consistency down. So I kind of always try to make sure I pick from the same area, and I want to stop my parting down just before the center of my braid begins. So I'll kind of show you what I mean here. So we're picking up here. I'm going to glide to just before that braid begins and then pick up that strand. If for some reason I had too much, like let's say I picked up some of this bottom here too, I would just separate, because basically that line there is going to be where the braid rests. So I hope that makes sense. You guys see what I'm saying? That little line right there, that's where the braid rests. So we want to make sure that we're kind of parting consistently and keeping a mental line in our eye, otherwise your braid will end up being wiggly and all that, and that's not something that you want to end up seeing happen. So let's go ahead and slide on underneath here. We'll continue on forward. I'll share with you a couple more tricks as we get closer to the back. I will say, I always tell people when you're learning a new style of braiding, talk your way through it. And the reason why I say that is because if you're used to, say, like let's say for instance you're French braiding, if you are French braiding and you try to switch to a braid like this, a lot of times you'll have a tendency to want to not drop that strand of hair that you need to drop. So typically whenever you are learning a new style of braiding, you're appealing to the side of your brain that processes information intellectually rather than the side of the braid that processes information creatively or artistically. So it helps if you appeal to that side of the brain, and the same way that I was talking you through at the beginning, if you talk yourself through it as well. So basically saying like, grab some hair, add it to the top strand, bring it over the middle, reach under the bottom strand, pick up new hair, drop the old hair, bring the new hair over the middle and back to the top. Add hair to the top strand, bring it over the middle. Now I will say it will make you feel a little crazy while you're learning. You'll feel like, why am I talking to myself? But when I tell you guys, I teach cosmetology for a living. All of my students, I tell them the same thing. They hate doing it, but it yields such excellent results. If you've been one where you've talked yourself through the braid and you've noticed it works so much better when you do that, please leave a comment down below so people know it's not crazy. You feel crazy, but your braids look amazing. So it does make a massive difference, trust me there. All right, so we're coming close to the end here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and speed up just a little bit for you. And then I'll show you guys kind of some of the technique that I use to hide my bands. Child, I just dropped my comb, ain't that a shame? Okay, so when I get here, a lot of times because you're supposed to be dropping that strand you added to, I'll go ahead and continue braiding. I'll pick up one more piece and drop that last strand I added here to, and then I'll use the smaller strands to finish out the braid. That way it completes the look of your waterfall instead of you kind of trying to hold on to hair that you shouldn't be holding on to, things like that. So let me see if I can turn her just a bit, and that way you can kind of see a bit more easily what I'm talking about. So this last strand here, I wanted to make sure it drops and falls, and I'm just gonna braid down a little ways where my two braids meet together like so. Once I've done that, I can go ahead and just take a butterfly clip like this. We're going to pin some of that hair down and out of the way just so nothing extra gets caught in the rubber band. And you can use a clear elastic, but I don't like those because they break easily, so I have a standard black elastic. I will say if you're doing this professionally, please make it a habit of not opening rubber bands with your mouth. Your spit is not sanitary and it is getting in your client's hair. If you're doing it on like your daughter's hair or something like that, then hey, I guess, you know, that's all the same germs. But yeah, just so you know, for the sake of professionalism, if you're doing this professionally, please do not put that rubber band in your mouth. It's kind of one of those things, it takes away from your professionalism. I've seen professionals go as far as putting a full-on comb in their mouth, and it's just not a good look. Alright, so once you get to the end here, you may be wondering how to hide this rubber band. So what I like to do is just take a little bit of hair from the underside of the rubber band, and I like to wrap that around the base of the hair. So we're just going to go ahead and give it a nice little wrap. Try to make it pretty snug. And then from there, I'm going to go ahead and take a 3-inch hairpin. You can use this, you can use like a little topsy-turvy type of thing or whatever, the little topsy tails they used to sell if you have one, but I like using the simpler things I already have. From there, I'm going to spin that hair just a little bit, and that's going to make it easier for me to get that hair in there. And then I'm just going to take another pin like so. This will help me to kind of catch that hair and pull it on through. So I'm just going to push it through there just a little bit. We'll pull it through the rest of the way. Make sure you pull this hair all the way through this hairpin. You'll notice why in just a minute. So once we've done that, I'm now going to take my hairpin and pull it back down, and it's going to make that much smoother, more appealing to the eye because you don't see the hairband. From there, I can go right on underneath, and I'm going to loop into that last piece that we just took and then slide it right on underneath the braid. So the braid is going to hide my pin and everything else kind of holds secure. Now if you'll notice on this side here, this is why I was saying, like, look, as you're messing with that, it can change the shape of your braid. That's why I say to make sure you prep the hair and style it beforehand, because if you're trying to do a lot of styling afterwards, it can honestly damage the integrity of the braid and have your braid looking wonky, even though you didn't initially do it that way. So you guys can see here where we've got minimal brushing, all of that's taken place. It doesn't do a whole lot to affect the hair. If I need to brush it, it's honestly best for me to go ahead, hold my hand up here and run a brush through the mids and ends, and that way I can smooth it without it changing up the structure of the braid here. So if you learned anything in this video, let me know in the description box down below. Until next time, you guys, take care, God bless, and stay glam. You know I love you, boo. Bye.
If you don't yet follow us on Instagram at GetGlamFam, be sure to check us out. We have tons of stuff that you just may love, including comedy, foolery, and behind the scenes stuff on videos like the one you saw today. Be sure to check us out and follow. Take care, God bless, and stay glam. You know I love you.